Florida voters headed to the polls tomorrow in the latest test of the far-left socialist movement as multiple progressives look to score big in the Sunshine State.
Alex Hogan is live in Washington with all of those details. Hi, Alex.
Hi, good morning, Todd and Ashley. So Democrats are deciding how far left the party is willing to go, and this week that debate moves to Florida. So Elijah Manley is a self-described socialist, and he's challenging longtime Democrat Debbie Wasserman Schultz. His campaign includes abolishing ICE as it stands.
We are still going to enforce immigration laws that are on the books, but we just don't need people running through the streets, kidnapping people off the streets. Americans have been killed by ICE agents that are untrained. They have put police officers in danger, our communities in danger. Yeah, I mean, American citizens that they've put in prisons. I mean, random people on the street that have been shot in the face. I mean, this is lawlessness
this is
that
a
we've
narrative.
never seen in our country before.
This is an unfactual narrative, Elijah.
Well, another progressive, Oliver Larkin, is running against Congressman Jared Moskowitz. Larkin is running on universal health care, free college, and a more aggressive economic agenda. Joey Jones asked him about some of those campaign goals this weekend.
Why are you out here advocating for socialism in a state where capitalism does work well when it seems like you hadn't really tried it yourself?
Well, we have a higher cost of living in the Miami metropolitan area now than New York City, and we've had 30 years of Republican rule in Tallahassee. So this stark income and wealth inequality where we see my district, the 25th congressional district, having the highest concentration of billionaires in the country. At the same time, we see the poverty rate going up.
And amid the potential internal shift within the Democratic Party, House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries says he does not support the Democratic Socialists of America agenda as a whole.
I don't support the DSA agenda as has been articulated by the DSA itself. Now, you're going to have individual members who have been elected in Democratic primaries, and if they are elected in the general in November, will be part of the House Democratic Caucus. It's going to be a broad caucus.
So for a Democratic Party still debating its direction, tomorrow's Florida primary will be a test whether a progressive message can really gain traction in a state that has shifted sharply to the right in recent elections.
What's up, my people? Who's ready for another great week in the United States of America? We are locked and loaded, baby. What a story off the top of the show. Donald Trump has declared the U.S. military base, the border. The United States border has now just become a giant military base. It's a move of pure genius, and it's a move that I think will reorient the entire nation. We will win if we can just lock down these few short years. I don't think people quite understand that the future of the nation hangs on a knife's blade, that the future of the nation will be decided in just the next few years. We're talking like 3 years, up into the 2028 election, and that's going to be it. And if you can hold off the orcs at the door in these, if we can hold out as Helm's Deep in these few years, then we'll win. Today's Monday, August 17th, 2026. Justice Department expands military power over the United States border in a masterstroke move. DFW scraps Islamic foot washing station. Okay. We'll see if we have some members of the Texas delegation that will join us to talk about that. I'll be traveling to Dallas-Fort Worth this week. Just FYI, we'll be giving a speech in Lubbock, Texas, and doing some work in Dallas. And so I look forward to checking this out. Apparently, there was a Muslim foot washing station that was there and that is already there. So we're going to go investigate this week. On Thursday, we're going to go and investigate ourselves. Michael Flynn joins the show along with Small Business Administrator Kelly Loeffler joining the show. My name is Benny Johnson, and this is The Benny Show. Okay. Also, just breaking as of like a few seconds ago, the Eric Swalwell case blown wide open with Fang Fang, the Chinese spy. Haven't heard a lot about Eric Swalwell. I asked John Solomon. He broke this news. I asked John Solomon to come on the program. We'll either get him today or tomorrow. But massive news about Eric Swalwell and Fang Fang, the Chinese spy. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, you got to be smart. When you're my age, you got to be smart. I turned 40 this year. And Klein, could you pop up my screen? I want to show you guys what I did this weekend. Here we go. This is me and my kiddos. This is my youngest son. He is asleep in my lap, and we took him out to the Gulf of America. You can see all of the sunscreen on my face. I'm doing white face for sure. We'll see if I get canceled. We took him out to the Gulf of America this weekend. It was amazing. And I just cannot encourage parents enough. Just get out in nature. We live in Tampa, so we're close to water, but everybody's close to something. It's an amazing country, and there's a national park or a state park or federal lands or some type of natural wonder, no matter where you live. I grew up in Iowa, and there were amazing things all throughout Iowa. People think it's so boring. No, there's like wonderful parks and caves, and there was a hill once. You know, there's a hill in Iowa. It's amazing. But get your kids out. If you've got kids, if you've got grandkids, get them out in nature. Connect them with this beautiful world, because it is the way to Christ pill your children. If you tell your kids that God made this world, and here, let me show you actually. This is where we were. It's not the Caribbean. It's not the Bahamas. It's mainland Florida. It's the Gulf of Mexico. And this is what it looks like. It's not hard to get to. You can drive there. You can boat there. And it's like a paradise. Again, this isn't this isn't Turks and Caicos. This is some far-flung island out in the middle of the Pacific. This is the United States of America, baby. And it's gorgeous. It's glorious. And it's an important lesson that you got to not only show up for your kids, but you should be present outside, outdoors. Disconnect from the toxicity of the internet and the online world. You know, there's no Wi-Fi signal out here, for instance. And, just build. This is me building castles with my kids all weekend. Probably had a little too much sun, to be quite honest. And this is how you build the future. And we're going to win if we just lock in right now. We'll explain that in just a second. We're going to win. It is extremely uplifting. But you can't do this hungover. I don't drink anymore. I'll have a glass of wine here and there. I'll have a beer here and there. But I just don't really drink anymore, ladies and gentlemen. Z-Biotics, if you are drinking, is a great way to make sure that you can get rid of the maladies that come with consuming alcohol. And that certainly does happen, and it happens worse as you get older. You want to be able to show up for your kids. Nothing is worth, no glass of alcohol, the finest whiskeys, the finest scotches in the world is not worth a day present with my children. It's not worth that, right? And it's not worth the hangover. So Z-Biotics is a pre-alcohol probiotic drink. That's the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to help break down acrylamide, a byproduct of drinking alcohol. Pre-alcohol produces an enzyme that is designated to help break down this byproduct. Pre-alcohol, your first drink of the night, drink responsibly, enjoy the next day activities. Z-Biotics has sold more than 14 million bottles and earned the trust of thousands. Okay. So get in there, ladies and gentlemen. Try it for yourself today. If you're unsatisfied, they'll refund your entire order. No questions asked. Head to zbiotics.com/Benny. Code Benny for 15% off your first order. And these statements and products have not been evaluated by the FDA. Go to Benny, zbiotics.com/Benny. Code Benny for 15% off. Okay. This is how we win. This is how we're going to win. And that was my weekend. What do we do after this? We the kids literally all slept on the boat. That's it. They just slept. They just all fell asleep. And they napped. They woke up. I cooked them cooked them some fish and some green beans, and they were so tired they couldn't even do a walk. This is amazing. Exactly how you should be living. Ladies and gentlemen, we are living great right now as a country. There is I was having this conversation with my wife this morning. Why do we have an open border? What is that policy? Nobody has voted. Nobody. The Muslim foot washing stations in the Dallas airport. What the hell is that? It's a voodoo fountain. You ever heard of a voodoo fountain? wash their feet. Of course, it's been halted by the government of Texas, thank God. But why are we doing this? Well, it's a curse that's been visited upon us by the generations before us that had the privilege, the luxury of living in a Christian homogeneous society. Now, I was like gonna get on a soapbox here for a second. There is a luxury that every single American population has had since the beginning of this nation 250 years ago and before, and even beforehand. I guess the Indians were pagans and barbarians, right? And hedonistic, and they weren't Christians. Okay. A lot of them converted. A lot of them just got pushed out. But there's never been an insurgent population that was anti-Western on these lands. Never. There were little scattered Indian tribes here and there. They were wrapped up and dealt with. And that was the policy of the U.S. government. Why? Well, because it's like, one, there is no such thing as multiculturalism. It doesn't exist. There's going to be a dominant culture. There's going to be a state religion. It's going to happen. The First Amendment doesn't say no state religion. The First Amendment says that Congress will make no act creating a state religion, but that all of our other rights come from God and Christendom and Jesus Christ. That's what the actual documents say. So to sit there and to say that, our government is some type of amalgamous blob that just treats all religions the same. Nope. Because if you treated all religions the same, you'd have blaspheming laws like they do in Muslim countries. You'd have other law. You wouldn't have the First Amendment. You'd have a caste system like they have in India. That's their religion. And by the way, they bring that religion here. And Islam brings their religion here. And it's a real horror. And it's the question of our time is, what are we going to do about that? Because we are the first, and it is a curse. It's a curse that's been visited upon us, not by the boomers, but by the greatest generation who were in power in 1964. Boomers were little children in 1964, or the oldest boomers were like 20. And the greatest generation voted to get rid of the Hart-Celler Act, or voted the Hart-Celler Act into law. Correction. And that got rid of immigration limitations on countries that were not considered Western, that were not considered Christian. And then that brought onto our shores this huge question that we now have, that we're grappling with, which is, what are we going to do about a fundamentally incompatible civilization that has been brought to our shores, live in our cities, take advantage of our welfare system, and looks to supplant Western civilization and Christendom? No other generations had to wrestle with that, because every other generation was smart enough to understand that that would be the destruction of the nation. They were smart enough to understand that the federal documents that were laid down by our founding fathers were in their bedrock Christian, fundamentally. That you had to actually be a professed article of faith to serve as a judge or as a member of Congress or as a member of a state delegation in 11 out of 13 original U.S. colonies. You had to have a declaration of faith. Jesus Christ is my Lord and Savior. And I believe in the Holy Ghost and God the Father and the New and Old Testament. Like, this is how you had this in Pennsylvania, Delaware, Massachusetts. You had this in every single colony. The rights and articles of our nation, our judicial system, all of it, fundamentally Christian. Now, we have imported populations that don't believe in those things. What are we to do about it? This ultimately is the question of our time. And it's a question that's been visited upon our generation uniquely, because in no other generation, at the year I was born, America was 90% white and Christian. 1986. Those numbers have been cut down by half in my short lifetime. So then what do we do about that? That is a huge question. It's a question that Christian leaders must start asking. It's a question that Christian leaders need to have a good answer to. It's a question that everyone will start asking as they look around and suddenly see voodoo foot washing ritual stations in their government-funded airports. So what the hell happened to my country when they start hearing the call to prayer and people kneeling in the middle of the streets, in the middle of malls, start seeing burqa stores pop up all throughout the country, which is happening. Mosques pop up. Mosques take over churches all throughout the country, which is happening at a shocking rate. Mosques buying up Christian churches. So what do you do? Well, I mean, that's going to be the question. It's a question that we're going to grapple with. And for fear of tipping my hat here and ascribing stupidity, which I think is correct when it comes to the immigration policy of our country, instead of malevolence. I mean, certainly there's a lot of people that want to see Christianity die on the vine and want to completely replace our population. But I think a lot of it has to do with economics more than anything. The baby boomers did not produce children at the rate. They had a scarcity mindset that was implanted on them by their parents, who went through the Great Depression and saw little hungry children, and that affected them. And don't have kids unless you have enough money for a home and you can provide for them. And it's like the scarcity mindset. So boomers actually didn't procreate at the rates that they needed to in order to keep the population going. And so the federal government was faced with this giant population and then a winnowing of the numbers to the point where all of the systems begin to fail. There's not enough people paying into Social Security to provide. There's not enough people paying into the social welfare, the lavish social welfare systems that, of course, are completely insolvent and will collapse under their own weight in my lifetime. There's not enough people paying into that. The social system doesn't work unless there's a ton of young people working and paying for the old people that are collecting all the benefits. It's a terrible way, by the way, to structure society. It's an awful way to structure society. It's wholly and completely immoral, but the young should be the ones who get benefits, not the old. It is the young. Society should be built around the young and the creation of family and the creation of children and the upholding of the family and the support of a young family. Like that is the actual structure of a positivist society. That is a structure of an advancing and healthy society. But anyway, I think our leaders panic. I've been trying to grapple with this because never has a politician come on this program, and we've had thousands on, never has a politician stood up in front of the cameras and made a cogent argument for third world migration to the country. They've never done it. You've never seen it happen because there isn't one. And so I've been trying to not ascribe malevolence to perhaps just stupidity or panic in these decisions. And that's what I think is happening. I think that the government freaks out when you see population numbers start to crater. And that's what happened. And they started to go down. So you would have watched America's population shrink by 20%. And they freaked out and said, we got to do something about this. Open the floodgates. We have a great and functional society here. Open the floodgates. We have a welfare state. And bring on all of the third worlders. And they'll breed like jackrabbits. And we'll be able to say our population and GDP, it all goes up, right? And that is how we get into the crisis that we are in right now. Baby boomers didn't produce enough children in order to replace them. They believed the scarcity lie of their Great Depression era parents. Don't have kids. Wait to have kids. Go to Woodstock. Go party. Do drugs. Oh, having kids is so expensive. You better have everything right. You better have everything correct. Right? Scary, scary, scary. Have just 2 kids. Don't have too many kids. Don't have too many kids. What are you, crazy? There might be food shortages, right? That was that generation's mindset. I knew that generation. I remember that generation. And they implant that into the boomers. The boomers carry that forward onto into our generation. And we realize that's all a lie. And that's why everybody that I know that's my age has 4 or 5 kids. Everyone I know. It's nope, actually kids are the greatest thing ever. And also, it's being used as a weapon against us, the fact that we're not having kids. The government will simply import more children, and you'll lose your country. And so actually, like, the greatest defense against the destruction of our nation is to have more kids, more families, more Americans. And demographics are destiny. And so this is how we find ourselves in this schism that's happening right now. The people who love to run these economic numbers and freak out about them, the Cato Institute, libertarians who are actually just like open borders liberals, and it's just like a patina. Let's put it on, they're freaking out. They're losing their minds because they're the GDP has to go up people, right? They're the open borders, I guess, wing of the right, if you can even call them that. And they're losing their minds because Donald Trump understands this exact point. And he has, look at this, look at these numbers, look at this. You've never seen it better in your lifetime or mine. Arrests, releases, 0. I've never seen like a government data point go to absolute 0. I've never seen it. What, like, have you ever seen charts like this? What are these? These are Border Patrol gotaways. Okay. You're down to a fraction of a percent here. Asylum seekers legally falls to 99.9%. Look at that. Dun, 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 dun. 0. 0. Same thing. Refugee admissions. And these refugee admissions, these are just from South Africa. White farmers from South Africa. You've never seen anything like that. Trump has likely cut legal permanent immigrant visas by half. You've seen the numbers just completely collapse. Visas down, H-1Bs down, asylum grantee rates down, self-deportations up by 28%. ICE arrests, they're not where they need to be. But an incredible thing is also happening. Red states are having a baby boom. Blue states' populations are collapsing. Blue state populations are continuing to collapse as third world illegals plunge under Trump. All the blue state populations were completely fake. Their population growth completely provided by flights 10 a day from Haiti, bringing in the entire Haitian population, the entire population of Somaliland. Red states, on the other hand, are actually 10 out of 16 states that had more babies from 2025 to 2026 are red states. Incredible. Look at this. Median children by ideology. Now, these are rookie numbers. We need to get these numbers up. 1.43 per conservative woman. But look at this. 0.5 for left-wingers. Do you know at this rate alone, all it takes is one generation and liberalism will be extinct. There won't be any more liberals. The positive corollary between your politics and your parents' politics is extremely high. The coefficient is like 1. You often pass on your value system. Parents who don't do that are failures, by the way. Liberal or conservative. Parents who don't do that are failures. You need to be part of your children's life. You need, like, that's the point of being a parent. You can't choose their genetics exactly, right? Like, your kid's going to end up looking, your kid's going to end up, all 4 of my children, they all look different, right? They have some things in common, but the hair color, the eye color, like, I can hope I can sort of narrow the pool for that, but they're all going to look different. The one thing that you can actually choose is their ideology. And that's why this is so critical. We're finally seeing an uptick here. Gallup poll says that by the year 2100, which I don't know, it'd be a stretch, but maybe some of us would be able to live and see that, right? That 80% of the country will be the descendants of Republicans living today because of these numbers. We are winning the pure demographic and population battle We're winning the cultural battle. We're the only people that don't have a suicidal mindset about who we are and what we represent, about whether we even deserve to exist at all. The left wants to suicide themselves, either through abortion, through literal suicide at the end of their lives, or through not having any children. They practice that. It's like a religion to them. It's a religion without God. It's a religion for people that don't believe in God and that hate themselves. So much of it is just self-loathing. The only way that they could beat us is through mass immigration. The only way that they could win this battle is if they are able to import and make up the gap difference right here. If they're able to make this up, and this is why you see left-wing, like childless left-wing, psychotic white women out there fighting ICE, because they project the space that should be reserved for their own children into a criminal alien. They actually view them as the continuation of their idea, of their worldview, of their culture. It's sick. It's a disgusting thing, but it is fundamentally true. And so this is, I think, where the position that we're in right now. Christians must fight this. There are a lot of verses in the Bible about strong borders, about defending culture, about defending God's kingdom. We're not supposed to sit here with our hands tied when the federal government does immoral things. The federal government's policy was slavery. At least it was allowed. No rule against it. Like, that's an immorality. The federal government's policy was abortion. That's immoral. We should get rid of Roe v. Wade. And we fought for 60 years, and we did. And they're like, that is a righteous battle. And Christians must engage in those and like just say hands off, and we're not going to engage in the federal government. We're not going to engage in politics at all. We're better than that, or like we're just looking forward to God's kingdom. That is such a coward's way out. Your job as a Christian is to be Christ here on this earth. How are you going to do that when there's genocides of babies or human beings enslaved? Or when Islam is converting by the sword in your neighborhood and conquering your land? Shame on you. And shame on these generations that allowed for this to happen. Because I certainly never voted for this, and I doubt you ever voted for this. But did anybody raise any, I grew up in an evangelical church. Did anybody ever raise any problems about this? Like, anybody ever asked, like, wait, why is this happening? When we were like the strong majority in the country, did anybody stop for a second and make this an issue? I mean, Trump did. Trump was the first person to do it. The first person to actually do it. Now he's been president twice. And I think that says something about the cowardice of Christian leaders, the cowardice of conservative leaders. Because yes, we've seen this throughout history. Islam is here to kill us and convert us. And that is what it is. That is what the name of the religion is. Submission. Their little voodoo foot washing stations, your burqas, all of it. The call to prayer, all of it. It's here to subvert and to replace Christianity. Again, they're buying churches all over the country, and it's awful. They're putting Muslim populations very densely packed into blue states and red states. And they're putting them in very specific places, swing states, in order to have a specific effect on how the country's run. It's very smart, and it's using the weapons of biological and religious warfare against us. And I cannot state it enough, as we jump into our first topic here. I cannot state it enough. How much I am pissed at the generations that did this to us. What a curse. What a curse on us. Like, you got to live inside of an America that is unrecognizable to us today. That you wouldn't even know that it existed is so unfathomable. You wouldn't even know that it exists. LA with pristine, clean streets. San Francisco with these beautiful buildings, clean streets, like functional society, no junkies, no heroin, no druggies on the street. Like, you wouldn't even know that it existed if it wasn't for old newsreels. The most radicalizing thing is just videos from about 50 years ago, 70 years ago. Just play that and look around. And look at what the country was. High trust, Christian society, Christianity being 90, 95% religion, high moral code, law and order, cleanliness, functionality, aggressive creation, because the government got out of the way and we didn't have a welfare program where we had to babysit 40% of the population all the time. The country had a real sense of itself. And things have become gotten horribly, like the people that were born into that America took it for granted. Yes, I'm talking about the so-called greatest generation. Took it for granted and did not realize the gift that they had been given. And they passed the most suicidal, I mean, I don't think they meant to, but they did. They passed that's the era of Roe v. Wade. That's the era of the Hart-Celler Act. They passed suicidal legislation. And I think they just thought it'd just be like this forever. I think the boomers started to notice like some real change. So did Gen X. And now the rest of us are going to have to like live in the horrors of what these policies are visiting on the country. We're not going to have a majority Christian country. We're not going to be having a majority Western country, a Eurocentric background. And then does that even mean it's America anymore? That's a great question. If half of Britain are people from Pakistan and India, then is it even England? No, it's not. It's a colony of Pakistan. It's a colony of India. They've colonized England. It's happening here. It's happening in part because the left doesn't have their own children. And so they hate Christians and they want to import people that aren't Christians, more easily controllable, and so on. It's just like self-loathing. It's a fight against God. It always is. But then also, it's an economic game for our politicians. Well, you got to have this many warm bodies in your country. If your population is collapsing or constricting, that doesn't mean that means your country's not healthy. That means you lose political power. And so this has been the battle going on. And this is why we must win. And we will win if we can just lock it down for the next couple of years. If we can lock it down, if we can get JD in 2028, we can do a clean census on the country and not count illegals and do a proper reapportionment, then we'll win. That'll be game over for the left. That will be it. Trump building a double border wall. Sorry for the soapbox, but I think it's just important. I've been grappling with these things. It's like, this is the battle. The battle isn't like, it's a communist. Look, he's a communist. No. The battle is a demographic one. Okay, sorry, I'm just checking in with my team here. Do we have General Flynn, or is someone set? Okay, got it. Or is there okay, got it. Okay. So let's go ahead and talk through the militarization of the border, then we'll jump over to the general. So this is what Trump's doing on the border right now. This is why it's so important. As soon as I saw this, I said, oh, this is a military base. You ever go to a military base? I was just at Fort Bragg. Did a whole weekend at Fort Bragg. When you're on a military base, obviously there are major barriers to entry, and there's major containment when you're inside of the base. The base has sophisticated weapons, deadly weapons in it. Trump's building now a double border wall. Well, if you the point of this is that there really is no point to try and crossing the border now. If you're going to get stuck inside of this no man's land And then you're going to have to scale 2 walls. Do you know how easy it would be to actually when you isolate somebody and you put them up against this white sand? Do you know how easy this is going to be? In order to capture someone, you won't even bother. It's genius what Trump's doing. I said, wow, damn, look what Trump's building at the wall. He's building now double border wall. It's incredibly smart. We said this actually looks like, again, a military operation when you go to a military base. Well, it turns out that this is precisely what the DOJ did. And we noted this like 2 weeks ago on the show and in a read. And now, lo and behold, this morning drops this. Justice Department expands its military power to detain migrants accused of trespassing. The Justice Department on Friday issued a long legal opinion giving the U.S. military broader power to detain migrants accused of trespassing in areas the Department of Defense controls as part of the President Trump's crackdown on the southern border. The opinion from the Department of Justice legal counsel concerns large swaths of land the U.S.-Mexico border. Let's go ahead and look. There you go. You can see here these brand new lands, just massive, massive new controls for the United States military. Why is this important? Well, because the U.S. military has very specific rules. While the U.S. military typically can't do engagement inside, like unless it's the National Guard, unless you get like a presidential order, you can't do engagement inside of mainland United States. It can enforce the laws on military territory. So like, definitely don't try and bum rush a military base. Definitely don't try and bum rush the Pentagon. The military has full command and control to kill you. And so this is what Trump has done. He's saying effectively these military laws that protect our military bases and protect the Pentagon and protect military stations throughout the country, which are highly fortified and have special rules of engagement for members of the armed forces. This now applies to about half of our border. You can see here. And it's genius. There is no better or higher use of our military than to do this. What is the compact with our federal government? What is the contract here? The contract goes like this. I'll pay an obscene amount of taxes for protection. And it's always been that. I don't want to pay for welfare. I don't want to pay for Social Security. I don't want any of that stuff. Like, I want protection. And I think that's frankly what the tax burden should be limited to, but that is enough for me. And it's enough. That's how the compact between a organized federal government that has a monopoly on violence always goes. We will be as lethal as possible to make sure that your neighborhoods don't get raided by Mongol hordes or by marauding, Islamists that are here to behead you, right? Or convert. This is happening all throughout Africa, in fact. This is the agreement. The agreement is the federal government protects us. And this border is where the hordes were coming from. This is the highest and best calling for the United States military. And one of the best pieces of news I've seen in a very long time. We want to be uplifting on this Monday, talk through these big and very tough issues, and do that with General Michael Flynn, who is joining the show live right now. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome General Flynn to the program. General, hey, well, look at this. Wow, you seem chilled today. This is great.
I am chilled. I'm at the
Iowa State Fair?
Iowa State Fair. They're having a big old veterans parade that I was invited to be part of. So I'm here, and it's a beautiful day. I mean, it's an absolutely gorgeous day. They're expecting somewhere close to 200,000 people to attend today. So pretty cool. It's my first time here at the fair. I've been to Iowa a few times, but beautiful people and a great place. And we're also here to support some of the local political people that are running for the local offices, that state reps, state members of their state senate. We had a great meeting yesterday to work with some of those folks and some of the business leaders. So anyway, I mean, it's just another part of the country. I was just listening to the last sort of piece that you talked about with demographics in the United States of America, Benny. boy, we've got to really pay attention to this. And you're right. I mean, generations that have gone, and I'm in that generation that does not want to hand this country over to people like you and your family, your children, and not give them some sort of hope, to make sure that they can do and achieve the American dream and do all the things that we always talk about as Americans, right? I mean, but what is being an American mean to you? And that's my question that I typically ask to people. And I think it's just about patriotism. It's about our values. It's about our founding. It's about understanding our own history, the sacrifices that went with all that. So I really appreciate you bringing that kind of a discussion to your audience. And, because you got a great audience, you got a big audience, and people need to be talking about this more and more. And that's kind of where I'm at. And I do speak about the shift in our population and the shift in our population centers. For example, being in Iowa, I told this group yesterday that Iowa is no longer a part of the flyover. We used to say the flyover country, right? That what happened in the country was getting all screwed up on the coastline, right? New York, LA, Seattle, Portland, places like that, Boston now. I mean, look at what they just voted on in Massachusetts, because you mentioned abortion, right? They've abortion right up to the time of birth, right? It's crazy. But I think that it is now those same problems, this wokeism, this idea of wokeism is all over our country. And boy, I got an earful yesterday on how difficult it is right here in Iowa. Public school education system, the universities that are infiltrated by the Chinese, and frankly, U.S. government grants that still support things like DEI from the state university system here in Iowa. So, the folks here know that they have that issue. So the issues that the people of Iowa are dealing with are very similar to what we're all dealing with around the country. And, it just so happens, we're in the middle of the country here, and you think, well, Iowa's great. This great place is beautiful, absolutely beautiful. And, we think about Iowa as a place where they grow great corn. Actually, Iowa used to be the number one in education in the nation. As I studied coming out here and talking to them, and they're now about midway. It's about middle of the 50 states. And so it's not something that they're proud of, but it's something that they know that they have to deal with. And I think that's where everything starts, Benny, is it starts with education. And I know that we wanted to talk about some other stuff about China, because I do think that what the Chinese are doing in our country is definitely something that we, President Trump is paying attention to it. But I think we're going to have to do more in the years ahead. We're going to have to stop this infiltration, stop this allowance of the Chinese to be able to. I mean, the thing that you sent me, one of your team sent me about an article where they just purchased property right next to the White House, right? And it gives them an opportunity to be able to spy on the White House. I mean, that's essentially what they're going to do. So the property that they purchased is right next to the White House, and it was purchased by elements of their intelligence system within the CCP structure, right? So, I mean, we just can't have that. We've got to pay better attention to these kinds of transactions, and we can't allow it. We just can't allow it.
It was a sniper. It was a CCP trained sniper. Like, why should they be able to have a residence 650 feet from the White House, where you can see directly into the columns and the corridors of the West Wing?
Yeah, and then what they're doing is they're going to look at everybody coming and going from the West Wing. They're going to look at everybody. They're going to be able to monitor communications from there. So there's some tactical things that they can do. But the bigger message is, how do we allow this to continue to happen? How do we allow, over the Biden years, they were selling real estate to right next to most of our key military bases. Some of our bases up in Nebraska and in the Dakotas, where we've got some of our missile systems. I mean, some of our more sensitive military bases, under the Biden administration, the Chinese were buying up, hundreds of acres of property right next to these things. And you kind of say to yourself, how do we allow this, and why are we allowing it? And is it because of the corruption and the money that comes into the coffers of our political class? And and I would say it's it is definitely a Democrat problem because John Solomon, if you don't mind me saying it, John Solomon broke a story about Swalwell this morning. And some of the challenges that he's having with, remember he had, her name was Christine Fang. Everybody knew her as Fang. She was a spy, and she was working with actually many people up in the San Francisco area. And I think that Swalwell I'm told he's cooperating with the government, which is good. And maybe that's why they're going to be a little bit lenient on him. But I'm not sure if he's still running for governor of California, but when we allow this infiltration into the body of the United States of America and into the institutions of the United States of America, and those institutions are healthcare, certainly education, our financial system, and the more scary part is the government. When they infiltrate inside of our government, I'm not talking about a Chinese guy coming from China going to work on the Senate judiciary staff, although that's possible these days, I guess. But actually they recruit, and they do an excellent job of recruiting people to work for them. And that's the difficult part that people don't understand. Our intelligence community, frankly, is not structured properly, nor do we have the resources to be able to deal with what we would call a counterintelligence problem inside of the United States, because it's so vast, it's so big, and they understand that weakness in our system. So this is where we've got to have policies by the administration, and I think Trump has really done some work with this. Rubio has done as well to stand against some of this stuff, but it was allowed to be so pervasive under the previous administration, frankly, even under the Obama administration, but definitely under the Biden. Go ahead,
Mike. What do you make of the report here from Natalie Winters that America's top generals formed effectively a secret club with the CCP and went and shared secrets and sat on their boards and created effectively a bridge of military cooperation outside of the Pentagon and outside of the chain of command, kind of the same thing that we saw Mike Milley do when he was working with the Chinese generals in order to undermine Trump.
Yeah. I know.
Alert. Yeah. Do you know these guys?
I know half of them. Oh, no. I know half of them. One of the leaders of it, Mike Mullen, I used to work for him. So there's two answers to this. One is, if the government was aware and sanctioned this group and then leveraged that group to gather information from their meetings, that is a permissible thing as long as our government sanctioned it and then had some back channel knowledge of their meetings, and we, the United States of America, benefited from those meetings. We benefited from learning new things. If it was not sanctioned, if these are guys that are out there sort of rogue, and I know like half of them. Like I said, I work for one of them. These are not rogue people. They're not. These are professional, former professional military officers. But if they succumb to the almighty dollar, and they were offered all kinds of big, gifts and all sorts of things, so this has to be examined. This has to be looked into. Like I said, Benny, if it was sanctioned for the benefit of the United States government to collect information from these meetings through these conduits, I'm fine with that. If it is not sanctioned, and it does not appear to be, and Natalie did a superb job of doing this investigation, and it's one of these things where when you look at that group, you're not talking about a bunch of guys, for the most part, that stood up for President Trump in 2016, 2020, nor 2024. They are not people that came to the fore, as like a guy like me did, right? To stand up as a former retired military officer who got involved in politics, and you see what the left did to me. So these guys are not people that are jumping up and down to support Donald Trump. I know that.
So what should happen to Mark? Is Mark Milley a traitor to our country? As we were covering this report, I don't know if this was sanctioned or not. It looks terrible as far as I'm concerned.
It does look terrible. It looks terrible.
But like Mark Milley straight up admitted that he was sharing U.S. intelligence and undermining the president's lawful orders with the chain of command with Chinese generals. Should he be court-martialed? Should he be tried for treason?
I think that what Mark needs to do is, number one, he needs to do some soul searching, and he needs to come forward and actually say why he did that, because it is a terrible thing for our military.
He said he did it. He said he did it, General, because he's like, well, I'm just trying
concerned
to
about Trump. He was concerned about Trump's decision making. No,
right.
no, and I know, but I mean, if in fact,
that's not going to happen. He's not going to soul search. So
well, I mean, because what he does, by him being the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff and being a visible senior military officer, what it does is it damages the institution of the Department of War. It damages my ability to be able to go talk to, moms and dads of America and tell them that, hey, join our military because we have the most professional, we have the best leaders. Well, now that's the case. But then that wasn't. And so somebody like Mark Milley does that. It damages our ability, the rest of us who have a responsibility to continue to work on building the institution of our War Department. That hurts our ability to be able to do that. Mark understands that, and so he's going to have to come to a Jesus moment, I guess, and come back out, because I know what he said, but I still believe, because you asked me about treason or traitor or all this other stuff. I don't know. What I know is that it was wrong for what he did to act as though he knew better than the president of the United States, and to do something in a damaging way, sort of undermine the judgment of our commander in chief. Not in this case, at that time, was President Donald J. Trump. So, I do think that other generals and admirals and others who watch this, and then frankly, a lot of military watch your show, a lot of veterans watch your show, they all know that was total BS what Milley did, and Milley should pay a price at some point. Now, I don't know if Pete Hegseth is going to call him back in and do all that kind of business. I don't know what the status of that is. But what I do know is that when Mark admitted to doing that, and he did it, it damages all of our ability who love the institution of the Department of War and have a responsibility, who served in it, to continue to help recruit, right, the moms and dads, the sons and daughters of America, to continue to join a force that is a professional force and doing incredible work out there, all over the world. And it makes it much more difficult when we have a visible person in the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, in this case Mark Milley, do something like he did. It really hurts the entire country.
That's right. So, okay, so the new defense zone and area on the border. Do you agree with this strategy? Yes. I love this. It's like,
Benny, I heard you talking about it, and I heard you talking about it earlier. I am so for it. I wish that he would double down. I'd triple down, maybe. People are going to go, posse comitatus, statue and all that. No, there's been military put based on national emergency orders or the direction of the President of the United States, Commander in Chief, to basically protect our country. Those borders are sovereign federal borders for the most part, along that the southern border and the northern border for that matter. And we have to stop this scourge of not only illegals but the drugs. There are weapon systems. Those are, you might as well ship in 45s to shoot yourself in the head as much as fentanyl still comes into this country. And that's coming from via China through the drug cartels in Mexico and other places of Central and South America. That has got to stop. And I think that our military is really the best organized, the best structured, and they can provide the logistics and the resources behind the operational force that's going to do the actual mission to stop this stuff. And they work very, very well. Our military works very, very well with our law enforcement professionals, federal, state, local, and tribal, for that matter, especially out there in the Arizona area. So I'm for it. I wish that I'd like to see it. I'd like to see a doubling down of it.
So you'd like to see the full border under military control?
I would like to see the entire border under the. I said this yesterday that we ought to have an entire Army division down there. Plus. And we have great National Guard and great reserve forces that can do that. We don't have to task our active duty forces like the 82nd or the 1st Cav or the 101st. They have foreign and overseas responsibilities that they've got to be prepared for. But we certainly have National Guard divisions and we have national and reserve division. So we have other capabilities in our nation that can do that mission. And I think if they're given it, and there is a smart, rotational plan to be able to rotate the units in and out of there, I think it's a very smart thing for us to do. And boy, would you see, you showed a slide earlier, Benny, that I saw that showed the significant drop. I mean, I think we would see a wholesale drop, and we would also see a drop in the incursion of drugs into our country, as well as we would see a drop in crime across our country because of the effects of doing that type of border operation. So I'm all for it. I think that it probably needs to be expanded.
It's awesome. I just think it's a genius use of the rules to make sure it's illegal. It's illegal to trespass on land that's controlled by the Department of Defense. Just give the border to the Department of Defense and then make it illegal. And let the military control. Okay,
exactly.
So final question for you. So you're there at the veterans event today. Final question for you about the esprit de corps, the troops, Iran war. What should we are where we're at, right? So enough rending of the garments about whether we should have gone to war or not. But how does Trump untangle himself from this in a way that he can claim victory, right? How does this work, right? And we're seeing a lot of these reports. It's troubling for us, right?
Yeah, two things. It's tough. These are. We're there. Like it or not, we're there in the Middle East. So let's get past that and in the discussions about whether the decision was right or not. It doesn't matter. We are there. So I think at this stage, the president needs to really, and I think I kind of see it, but I'm not inside, but I think the gathering of the regional players, giving them far more responsibility to do the things that they should be doing. We're not, the United States of America is not dependent on the Straits of Hormuz or the oil that flows from the Persian Gulf. We're not. The rest of the world is. So the rest of the world needs to step up. And the rest of the world, like in Asia, for example, never mind China, Japan, Republic of Korea, of course, countries in Europe. Otherwise, they're going to be dependent on Russia. They're going to be dependent on oil coming out of Russia, which is not happening these days. So I think that Trump needs to sit the team down. He needs to say, okay, we are going to make a decision to disengage, and that's probably not the best word, but we're going to make a decision to disengage from this war, not necessarily from the region, and how we're going to work with the region in the future will be trade, economics, diplomatic engagement. I mean, the kinds of things that we're really good at, and to a degree, some military capability. Trump has always said that no nukes for Iran. Okay, so if we determine that there's anybody, Russia, China, North Korea, Pakistan, that are trying to bring nukes into nuclear capability into Iran or Iran itself, then we put that on the table. And Trump's already shown that he'll go after their nuclear capability. Last summer was a great example of being able to destroy, one of their capacities to be able to have that. So I think that there's a set of options that he can take that will get us back to a sense of normalcy for the region, for the Middle East, and then people can kind of get back to business in what they need to be doing. And frankly, that business for us, we've been protecting the oil flow from the Straits of Hormuz for my whole life. So, and we've been doing it for others. The others now need to step up. So if there's a aircraft carrier from that needs to sit inside the Persian Gulf, maybe it's from France, or maybe it's from Japan and not the United States of America.
Yeah, that's such a great point. Why are we constantly playing world? What it's like amazing point that you make, General. We can't defend our own border with our military. Right. We sure as hell are defending Israel or Ukraine's border or the UAE's border, Bahrain's border, Saudi Arabia's border. Like we're happy to defend everyone else's border except for our own damn border. It's like so frustrating.
It is. It is. And I will tell you, Benny, that the point that you just made is what frustrates a lot of Americans. A lot of Americans. I still get around this country quite a bit to talk to folks, and I've been here for a couple of days in Iowa, and I know I'm going to talk to another group on Tuesday or Wednesday. and these people are from all over the country. They're not just from Iowa because they're here for this beautiful fair. But boy, I'll tell you, people are frustrated that we're still engaged in all these overseas things, to include putting billions of dollars into Ukraine, and yet we still have problems right here at home, dealing with drug cartels, dealing with crime rates. I mean, I know that they're down, but locally, and that's my thing is, look, we can't rely on Washington, D.C. to do everything. We have got to rely on local, I call it local action, because that local action will have a national impact. And that's why I'm out here talking to people like state reps and state senators and people on school boards and at the county level, because that's where it matters. That's how we continue to stitch this beautiful country of ours back together. And trust me, I find a lot of hope. I don't find a lot of, there's negative stuff that we can talk about all day, but I find a lot of hope in a lot of these people because they're engaged. And, to a degree, as different as Donald Trump has been, as President Trump has been as a political leader in the United States of America for the last decade, what he's done is he's caused this country to wake up and get out of this sense of complacency and apathy and start to rise up again. And maybe we'll have some type of, you talk about Christianity earlier, maybe we have some type of, reformation and revival that this country needs. And I believe that we will go through that period of time, Benny.
It's the only way. That's the only way. That and remigration. So thank you very much, General Flynn. Have a great day at the Iowa State Fair. I'm very jealous of you.
Yeah, it's a great day. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Let me just do a swing around here. Hold on, just so you can get a sense of. I don't know if you guys can see some of it. We're in the main thoroughfare, and there's just all kinds of people.
I can smell the fried butter.
Oh my God! Yeah, fried butter. Oh my God! And falafels, pork. I had a pork sandwich yesterday. It was to die for. So anyway, all right, brother, take it easy.
Okay, later, General. See ya. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, right on to the Small Business Association the administrator, Kelly Loeffler, joining the show live right now. Small business administration is very important. Kelly, how are you doing? Good morning.
I'm doing good morning.
Yes.
How are you, Benny? I'm delighted to be with you. It was so fun watching General Flynn from the Iowa State Fair. I was there last Friday. What an incredible place. I mean, really special people, such an important thing to show Americans what agriculture means to this nation.
Yes. So, okay, the agriculture is a very small business, but a very important and critical business. It's a business that obviously would be providing our grocery stores its food. And I'm wondering your take on Zoran Mandami and his government-run grocery stores. How's that going to work exactly? What's what's your angle on that? Is that something we're going to be seeing in blue cities all across America?
Benny, I think we know how it's going to work. It's not going to work. It's going to be a massive failure, a $70 million failure on the hands of New York taxpayers. One more tax that is the result of socialist big government policies. You think about, they want to have 5 grocery stores for $70 million, and they have a 44-page RFP out. And it's very clear from the proposal that they're looking for is they want some big company to come in and run it and crowd out the small businesses. And they're saying, not only do you have to crowd out the small businesses, but you have to drop your prices way below what small businesses are doing by 30%. And then on another 20 products, the staples that people need, you have to carry those at a low price. So Chicago tried this, 7 stores failed, cost Chicago taxpayers $15 million, failed quickly too, like 2 years. Small business and socialism cannot coexist.
So wait a second, this is news to me. So New York is asking for some giant corporation to come in and run their government-run store?
Well, if you read the RFP, it says you need to be adept at logistics and supply chain and negotiating contracts. And by the way, you've got like a month to get this 44-page RFP in. Now, I am blessed to be able to spend my time running across America from small business to small business. The last thing they have time for is some big socialist government bureaucracy to wade through and then take a risk on something where they're saying 5 of the sites, or I'm sorry, 3 of the 5 sites are known, 2 are not. So you're just gonna have to roll the dice and put a bunch of money and hire people and try to make this partnership, so-called partnership with the city, but we'll have our thumb on you the whole time. And I have been in grocery stores in the Bronx, and the city already has their thumb on hardworking small business owners that are scraping by to make ends meet to serve their communities. They are dictating their every move already.
They're going to destroy the bodegas. They're going to destroy all these little, you know, I go to New York here and there, and it's all these little shops, all these little stores that kind of like made New York, and it's the culture, and they're going to be decimated by this. You won't be able to compete with the government undercutting and undermining small business.
Well, and that's right, because they come from the socialist mantra. It comes straight out of Karl Marx's playbook, A Communist Manifesto, to seize the means of production, and that we need to not allow property rights within the citizenry. And so they come from a perspective of ownership is bad, success must be punished, and that everyone who has will be taken from and be redistributing what they have to those who don't. Well, that only works for so long. It doesn't work at all, frankly, because you see what happens in Venezuela, Cuba. It's Soviet era stuff. And that's what the entire Democrat Party has now fallen in line behind when they give their endorsement to these so-called Democrat socialists, which they're just putting lipstick on a pig here when they say democratic socialist, because this is socialism.
Yeah, communism. It's like,
pretty much.
Just call it, just call it what it is. Okay, so it's incumbent on the administration. You know, JD Vance was saying this weekend, and he said, you know, you're not going to convince people to not go for communism by wagging your finger at them or lecturing them from some old sheet from a Reagan speech. You're going to actually have to fundamentally make their lives better. You're going to have to increase the living capacity for every American, lower grocery prices, lower gas prices, home affordability. You're going to have to make these things within reach for people. Otherwise, they'll reach for something else because they'll assume capitalism has failed them because we're considered a capitalist system. So how exactly are you doing that at the SBA?
Yeah, well, I consider the SBA the most free enterprise agency in the federal government. And why? Now, first of all, one of the criticisms we get is we don't think the SBA should be making loans to some businesses and not others. Well, the SBA loans are open to all American citizens. And by the way, we have changed it. You have to be an American citizen to get an SBA loan. But the banks pay a guarantee fee for every loan that they put through the guarantee system of the SBA. It funds the program. By law, our SBA lending has to operate at zero subsidy to taxpayers. And why is that important? Because there's 36 million small businesses in America. It's 99% of all businesses. We don't need 1% of small businesses getting subsidized by the rest. I strongly believe that. I come from a small business farming and trucking background. We didn't get subsidies. We don't want others to subsidize others. So my point on that is this agency is making capital available through Main Street lenders. Capital is the lifeblood of small business. It's very hard to start a business or hire if you don't have capital. We provide that early capital. And I was at a small business 2 weeks ago. They're no longer a small business. They just did a groundbreaking on their next factory. They're going to end up with 1,000 employees within about a decade, producing critical components for our aerospace and defense. And so just getting that capital out of SBA into the private sector is a virtuous cycle of growth, employment, and expanding the tax base for America. And what it does is provide more opportunity for communities. And that's what I love about this agency is we're fueling innovation. And our roots really come out of the small war plants administration. When Eisenhower came home as General Eisenhower became President Eisenhower, he said, we have to make things in America. So we're focused on manufacturing, made in America manufacturing.
The only, the thing that cuts against you obviously is going to be inflationary policies that blow out the deficit, and then also the fraud that I think goes hand in hand with that. When people are having fake small businesses, that affects just like a legal vote steals a real vote from an American citizen. A fake small business that is getting millions of dollars of funding or hundreds of millions of dollars, billions of dollars of fraud, that creates a downward pressure on somebody trying to start a legitimate business.
Absolutely.
And so we must eliminate those ruthlessly. Can you talk through your efforts to do that?
Yeah, I mean, we've done it across every single program, but one of the things we had to do was go back to the COVID era programs and find out how broken it was. 200 billion in suspected fraud out of the 1.2 trillion that went out through SBA programs during about a 2-year period. The Biden administration knew about 200 billion in fraud, did nothing about it, tried to forgive it, sweep it under the rug. We've now already turned 22 billion over to Treasury. That's 500,000 fraudulent loan files. There are arrests being made. There's some great examples of that just recently. The mayor of Lawrence, Massachusetts, took $1.5 million out of PPP and then dumped it in his campaign fund. I mean, the list goes on and on. We just put 7 people up for prosecution for potentially 20 years in prison. We already have people serving time in prison for PPP fraud. Thanks to J.D. Vance's effort, our great vice president's leadership on the fraud task force, things are actually happening now because President Trump made that commitment when he came in. We're going to lower prices. We're doing that, shifting our supply chains to America, controlling our production. We're closed the border, and we're going after fraud. And all that's happening faster than we could have even imagined.
I just couldn't believe this clip. You pop this up, Klein. It's the mayor of Lawrence, Massachusetts, doesn't speak English. So he doesn't speak English. Lawrence is a pretty big city in Massachusetts. He has a translator wandering around with him. And of course, he committed total, fraud against the people of the United States of America. And we're very thankful for you and your team exposing him as you've done for a bunch of people. Can you talk about the broader issue here, maybe as our last question? Like the broader issue here is that you've brought people from societies that are not high trust societies. You've brought people from societies that are fraud societies. That are piracy societies, right? The entire economy of Somalia is based on piracy. And you bring them here and then you give them the keys to a high trust society where effectively there's no government recourse for stopping the fraud. It was just, we assumed you're telling the truth. Well, we don't have that anymore. We don't have that society anymore. We made that choice to bring people in from low trust societies, and now we have a low trust society. It's awful. How do we fix that? Administrator, how do we fix that?
Well, Benny, we have to fix it at the federal government level, but that's why the fraud task force is important, because now we're working with the states, because it's also being promulgated out through the states, and there's a stark divide between the red states and blue states who are cooperating with this. And you can see what the playbook is to get money out, no matter the means. That's why at the SBA, we, for the first time in the agency's 73-year history, said our loans are only going to go to American citizens. Now, the Democrats are extremely angry about this. And the idea is to get money out through any manner. But we also have to make sure that we're upholding the law. The Biden administration had blocked the ability for us to check the do not pay list during many COVID programs. So there were programs where 1/3 of the recipients or more were on the do not pay list from Treasury, and they said, fine, put the money out anyway. Those were probably non-citizens. Those were foreign entities. We just had China, a Chinese Communist Party company, pay back millions that they had borrowed or taken under PPP. And so we've got to make sure that we're not having programs that are set up that are exploited by people who come here who don't believe in our system, but are using our system to fund their socialist, corrupt systems.
That's insane. So they just ignored it, the do not pay list, and they were just like paying gobs of money to non-American citizens. It's so awful. Oh, it's terrible. Maybe just a really quick follow-up on that. How are you going to crack down? How are you cracking down on H-1Bs? I mean, that is like, we've studied that. That is just a patent system for open fraud and lying to the American government. And I know there's been some new, pretty aggressive rules that have been put out, but I'd like to get your take on this.
Well, look at what the Trump administration has done with the open border. They've completely closed it. And Secretary Mullen is working hard every day to look at every angle. Everyone from USDA Secretary Brooke Rollins to Mark Wayne to everyone this is an all-of-government approach to make sure that we are looking at the citizenship status of people and investigating it. At the SBA, We don't get that as the biggest concern. Our biggest concern that we hear from our employers, which create 2 out of every 3 new jobs, is that they can't find enough skilled workers. They need more qualified workers to be in the workforce and work for them. And no one is asking for foreign workers. No one is saying, I need more foreign-born workers. I need more visa workers. They are simply saying, we need the students coming out of, be it high school or college, to be trained and skilled enough to do these jobs, and they're not. We have 7 million jobs open in America. We have plenty of Americans that can do those jobs if they get the right training and skills. And that's why we're focused on skilled trade, technical, and trade schools, and sourcing our employees here in America.
What a wonderful answer. I was like, it's so great. You're exactly right. Of course you don't want somebody who doesn't speak English, right? It's like
common sense.
But we do have a deficiency. I think we forgot how to build things. I think that is important. Trade school, I think, is critical. Like funding trade schools, like funding people that can, funding apprenticeships. Like the apprenticeships are huge programs like throughout the world, and they don't really exist here. And it'd be nice to see more of that.
We're doing it. They're the coolest jobs too. I mean, these are the folks making little specialty component parts for rockets and satellites and for our war fighters. It's just incredible when I walk these factory floors to highlight their hard work and to see the pride in their faces is just incredible.
Well, it's great to see. The manufacturing numbers are great. We have some numbers right here that I just pulled up. This is the employment rate for Native Americans, American-born employment skyrocketing, while foreign-born employment is cratering. I think this is some of the most impressive numbers, frankly, out of the administration. And saying that the focus is obviously in the right place. I would really love to see a realignment in society where working with your hands, where being a plumber, being a welder, being somebody who can fix a car, being somebody who can manufacture a car or a rocket, is seen as better than just like a paper pusher inside of a city bank. Like being able to build things that like has dignity and honor and respect again. I think we lost that for a generation somehow, and it'd be very important to get that back. We won't have a civilization if we can't build, right? So
we can't, and it's coming back. It's incredibly exciting, and this is going to create opportunities for families, for workers, for communities. We're rebuilding America from the inside. And it's so exciting to see this, the groundbreakings, the trade schools, the sophistication of trade schools. These are basically engineering jobs where you don't need a 4-year degree. It's incredible. And a lot of these jobs, once you learn to do them, you can start your own small business after you learn them. So these trades are really powerful engines for economic growth and economic and national security.
It's awesome. Thank you, Administrator, for being on the program as ever. You can follow the Administrator right here. And it's very important work, honestly, very important work. It's a little unsung in the administration, but fighting fraud and making sure Americans have jobs, like the most important thing. Godspeed.
I'm humbled to do it. Thank you, Benny.
Ladies and gentlemen, Brandon Herrera joining us in just a moment from the great state of Texas. Again, we'll be traveling to Texas this week. I don't know. Maybe we can set up a campaign event with Brandon. I'm not exactly sure. But ladies and gentlemen, I do want you to have a good and strong and prosperous American future. Earn House does as well. This segment is sponsored by Earn House. So free to join and connects you with paid survey opportunities from companies looking for real consumer feedback. Before you choose a survey, you can see the estimated time and rewards up front, and you can know what you're looking at before you consider starting. You decide whether it's worth your time. You qualify and complete a survey. You earn redeemable rewards. Ladies and gentlemen, this is an easy way to earn from home. Earn House, German word for house. Earn from your home. Go to earnhouse.com/Benny right now and create a free account. You're watching or listening in app. You can find Earn House linked right now in the description. Show notes have it. Just tap it. Again, it's earnhouse.com/Benny. Create a free account now. Why not get paid for your opinion? That's what we do all day. Ladies and gentlemen, so does Brandon Herrera joining us deep in the heart of Texas from one of those military districts. Let's go. Good morning, Brandon. How are you?
Hey, how's it going, brother? I'm very clearly on the road on the campaign trail. Sorry, my home typically does not look like a DoubleTree Hilton.
Oh, the lavish life of campaigning throughout rural Texas. So we have this amazing map, and it shows the militarization of what I believe to be your district. And libs are freaking out about this. President Trump is now declaring these military zones so that the military police and the armed services can protect them against trespassers. I think this is just absolutely genius. Now, I want to get your take on it, since you're going to be representing the longest stretch of border. Do I have this correct? The longest stretch of border in the country?
Yes, sir. So Texas District 23 is the largest border district in the entire country. As you see it is, it basically goes from Eagle Pass all the way to El Paso and everything in between. So all the Big Bend area, Del Rio, that's all entirely in my district. And as I've said multiple times before, this was ground zero of the border crisis. When Biden was president and we saw the border crisis in full swing, anything that you saw of thousands of migrants gathering under bridges, people going across, desert terrain, all of that was my district. All of that border crisis was happening right here in Southwest Texas. So to see a move like this from the administration is frankly just promises made and promises kept. We were told that we were going to have a secure border, and damn it, we're going to have one. And now you're going to hear a lot of, pardon the expression, but a lot of left-wing bitching about posse comitatus, basically saying that, oh, well, they don't have the authority to use the military in a case like this because you can't use the military for domestic issues. That does not apply here, because this is not necessarily just a domestic issue. The Insurrection Act specifically details exceptions to that. In case of, for example, insurrection or, in this case, invasion. And I don't know what else you would call this. Millions and millions of people violating American law and entering the country illegally is an invasion. And it's about time we started treating it as such. And I'm glad the administration is doing so.
We've seen that invasion have a real crisis effect on the state of Texas. Why am I sitting there all weekend reading about Muslim foot washing inside of the Dallas airport? What's happened to Texas? Why? That's going to be the cultural flashpoint now.
And you know what? I think the people of Texas are sick of it. And it's very clear, because on our primary ballot, we had a ballot initiative that asked about banning Sharia law. And it was the most resounding mandate I have ever seen in any ballot initiative in any state. I think it was something along the lines of 94 to 95% of the votes said, yes, we do not want this in our country. And we saw the DFW airport foot washing station that was shut down, thankfully, I think. But it just goes to show how far this has come. And that actually is why specifically, and I'm glad you mentioned in the previous interview about H-1B visas and things like this, because it's about time. Thank you to the administration. Thank you to President Trump for securing our border and making sure that the illegal crisis is nowhere near what it was a couple of years ago. But now it's time we shift our focus to legal immigration, because that system is still broken as well. There's a lot of people that we are bringing in from outside of the United States who do not agree with Western values, who do not agree with our culture. They will refuse to assimilate, and they're taking up jobs a lot of times in the tech sector, engineering sector, a lot of things that there are Americans ready to do that work. Now, I'm all for bringing in on temporary status, not for citizenship, things that we are lacking in on a temporary status. That's totally fine. You don't vote in our elections. You don't get to take our benefits, but you can work in this country as something that we need to build our country and to move forward. But that's not what's happening on a lot of these legal work visas. That's not what's happening with a lot of these H-1Bs. What's happening is the tech sector is taking advantage of our immigration law and bringing in people from India and places like that to take jobs that would have gone to higher paying Americans.
Yes. And we've been able to see it. I mean, it's been well documented. There have been, people don't want to ever talk about it, but there's been thousands of DOJ prosecutions for racist hiring practices, for practices that are architected in order to stop Americans from getting these jobs, in order to fill more H-1Bs. It's not about, and I love what the administrator just said. I wasn't planning on liking that answer. I was about to fight her actually on it. But then she said, nobody wants to actually hire a foreign worker. They'd rather hire an American. We need to make sure there are as many trained and skilled Americans born here as possible. It's like, wow, actually, yes, that's that's the correct answer on that.
Absolutely, and that's one thing that while I do fault, there's a lot of people who do bring in foreign workers intentionally just because they're cheaper than Americans. We also have an obligation on our side. We need to start really ramping up our trade schools. We need to really start preparing this next generation of young Americans to be able to actually do these jobs. We need to remove the social stigmas and things there is nothing wrong with working a hard day's work, being a welder, being a machinist, all these things that we critically need that built this country. One of the reasons why this country excelled to the degree it did. Remove the stigmas, start opening up those pathways. Not everybody needs a degree in underwater basket weaving. You can actually just learn a trade.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's like underwater basket weaving would actually be kind of cool. Like, oh, you've woven me a basket. What I'm talking the problem degrees are the downwardly mobile AI took my job because I just filled in spreadsheets all day degrees, right? Like that this kind of like there was like a boomer economy that viewed real physical work as dirty, and like the place you wanted to be was inside of a fluorescently lit office. There's a movie called Office Space that's like made in 1999. It's like exactly about this. Mike Judge, one of the best movies ever made. And about how lifeless and soulless that is. At the end, they ended up burning down the building and working construction and realizing that was a much better life, actually, than their office jobs. And anyway, the point is that it would really be nice. Yeah, it'd be really be nice to get back to that. It'd be really great to see that promoted by the administration. And then for the fraud to end, obviously, it's illegal to go and hire people based on race, but that's exactly what happens in these H-1B mills. And it's been proven many, many times by the DOJ in many, many prosecutions. It's a total cancer on society. You're right. Legal immigration is probably worse now that Trump has the border under control than illegal immigration. Do you agree with that?
Absolutely. And I think it's especially the younger crowd. So many of your viewers, I'm sure right now are resonating very heavily with this because this is kind of our fight. This is something that my generation's having a hard time. There's a lot of people that are just now leaving, higher education. They've gone to school for, some sort of engineering job or a tech job or something like that. And they're getting ghost interviews where, they're getting their resume accepted. They're doing a 20-minute interview via Skype, and then they're being turned down in favor of somebody who was born in Bangladesh. And that's just not the American dream. That's something that our immigration system, we don't owe anybody to come here. You are not owed the American dream if you are not American. Now, if you'd like to come here, you'd like to assimilate to our culture, you would like to help build this country into something greater, you know what? That's fantastic. And if there's some way we can accommodate that's good for us, awesome. But that is the key phrase there. If it's good for us, America has to put Americans first. If it's good for the American economy and if it's good for American workers, let's do it. Let's build businesses. Let's do this. Let's grant the American dream. But they're not owed anything above our citizens. Our citizens have to come first. Our workers have to come first. That's how we build a strong country.
Extremely based Clarence Thomas just leveled a ruling saying, of course, like, you're not a citizen. You're not protected by our Constitution at all. You're not protected by any of our rights. Like none of this applies to you. You're not an American citizen. And so you can't sit there and argue our laws against us if you're not a citizen. And so get in line effectively. Speaking of
it's the suicidal empathy I'm so glad that's come back to common parlance now.
Yes. Speaking of our Constitution, massive win. I know that you've been celebrating here with the National Firearms Act provision getting struck down. Major gun rights victories. It's been what a run, by the way. Gun rights advocates have been on in this country. It's been an absolute tear. It kind of just shows that actually, like, the right, when we put our shoulder down on an issue and actually fight it, can win. Can you talk us through this? I know that you've been a huge champion for what was just recently struck down here.
Absolutely. So a little bit of background: the National Firearms Act.
Sorry about that. We're going to need to just reconnect. I know that happens when you get a phone call. Here we go. Producer can reconnect here. Klein, yeah, off. Thank you, and we can do a quick test with Brandon because I really want to hear his answer to this. In a recent ruling, the court has invalidated key components of the federal firearms law for nearly a century. The law mandated extra requirements for people who wanted to buy certain firearms and silencers. Gun rights groups are calling the ruling a huge win, but the issue is far from resolved. Okay, so it looks like I was ripped off when I bought my suppressor and had to pay a special tax. Yeah, so I should have waited a few years. Brandon, the floor is yours.
My apologies for that. So yeah, the National Firearms Act of 1934 essentially was what took the provision for it put a $200 tax stamp and a registration process behind suppressors, short-barreled rifles and shotguns, and machine guns. So that was something that was kind of moved in because clearly prohibition wasn't the problem. Gang violence was because of the firearms. So that was kind of the thinking at the time. So we were left with that. People immediately challenged it in the Supreme Court, understandably, saying that, hey, this seems like a violation of our Second Amendment rights. And the Supreme Court decided on a narrow decision. They decided that the National Firearms Act was constitutional because it was not a registration and a regulation of the firearms, but it was instead a registration that you paid the tax and that Congress has the ability to levy tax. So that's why it was approved as constitutional. Now, with the big, beautiful bill, what Congressman Andrew Clyde, Congressman Chip Roy, and a handful of other just absolute patriots put into that was removing the tax on the National Firearms Act on suppressors, short-barreled rifles, and short-barreled shotguns. So that begs the question. Now that bill had passed, if the only reason the NFA was constitutional was because you weren't registering the firearms, you were instead registering the payment of the tax. And now that the tax is zero, what the hell are you registering? And so a federal judge in the state of Texas agreed with this and struck it down. There was a lot of amazing companies, Silencer Shop, Silencer Co., B&T, Gun Owners of America. A lot of people got involved in that front and fought that fight. And a federal judge agreed. And now we're still within I think it's a 60-day window that the DOJ can appeal this. The Trump administration, I think, has signaled that they're not going to. But according to that ruling, they had 7 days to appeal before that went into effect. And the Department of Justice and the ATF did not. So on midnight of the 7th day, we went to Silencer Shop headquarters with GOA, Gun Owners of America, and with State Rep Wes Friedel. And I became the first transferee of two suppressors in 92 years. And so this was a major gun rights win. I mean, this is just absolutely incredible. Stacking wins. The NFA is not defeated yet, but this was the absolute necessary next step to just keep pushing up the beach and keep making these wins happen.
So effectively, this gets rid of the government's ability to make a massive registration of people who own suppressors and certain types of firearms.
And now there's no waiting period for it too, because this actually goes down. So the suppressor is then regulated under the GCA, which then considers it a firearm. So any standard 4473 will do. So this was the first, I should clarify, first non-NFA legal transfer of a suppressor in 92 years, which is it was just incredible to be a part of it. Because was it a little risky? Are we still kind of in a gray area? Yeah, definitely. But it's we got to keep making this happen. And you know, there's a lot of people that say, oh, well, this didn't defeat the entire NFA, or it only did this, or it doesn't work in my state, so this really wasn't a victory. That's like saying that D-Day wasn't a victory for America because it didn't instantly end World War II. It's like, Are we done fighting? No. But was this a massive victory? Absolutely. And let's use it to keep pushing forward.
Were you sipping whiskey too while you were doing this? I'm like watching this video right now.
Oh yeah. There was a bottle of whiskey that they apparently had bottled right when they first sued the ATF, and the label says "Cheers to suing the feds."
Okay.
It's alcohol, tobacco, and firearms. You know, you got to have all three.
That's right. You know what? You can just do things. It's amazing. Just do things, Brandon.
No, that's great. We need to keep moving forward with this because the fight's not over yet, but it feels good. We just need to learn. I think the right needs to do a better job of learning how to celebrate a win.
Yes. Yes, and how to shove their faces in it, and how to keep fighting, and how to continue the fight. Okay, so final take on this. You're considered very young to be running for Congress. You'll be entering Congress as certainly one of the youngest people there. You'll have a bunch of communist retards, though, that you'll be serving with, and that'll be the that'll be the battle for the future, right? Will be, are you making my life better? The vice president, who's not, the vice president, I just turned 40. I think the vice president's 42. Like, he's not too far off from where, how old I am. Like, he just said it plainly, I think on Friday. He's like, did you make my life better or not? If capitalists don't make people's lives better, groceries more affordable, gas cheaper, can you buy a home, right? Can you buy a used car? Can you buy cereal? Can you get a burrito? That's not $20. Then people will turn to socialism, obviously. People will turn communist. They'll just say, okay, what else is there? And I think that really is a pretty simple distillation, but an accurate one about the battles to come. So how are we going to win those battles, Brandon?
Absolutely. I mean, like you were saying, yeah, I am fairly young to be doing this. I think on election night, I will be 30 years old, 31 taking the oath of office. So it's kind of wild, I guess, in that regard. But I think, to be fair, I think our generation needs a bigger voice in this, because I think that's something that the party has been missing a little bit to a degree. Is we have people, and let's take this back from a nonpartisan perspective. I think our generation is tired of having things like AI, like Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies, things like that regulated by septuagenarians who don't know what any of this stuff is. Yes. And I think that frustration is kind of resonating within, people that are, 20 to 40 years old, that, man, the people that are voting on this stuff couldn't even define it if you asked them. And that's terrifying. So getting a little bit of young blood, not necessarily that being young automatically makes you qualified, but I think having an understanding of some of these issues that are going to be key, important issues going into the next 5 or 10 years is going to be crucial. And you are right. Socialism is on the rise. And, I remember 10 years ago, if you were a political candidate and you were an open socialist, that was politically toxic. You couldn't get an interview. You were immediately disowned by your own side. Nobody would talk to you. And now it's acceptable almost on the left side. These DSA candidates, I'm going up against one right now, they can't help themselves but go farther and farther left. And unfortunately, there's a lot of people, I think, in this younger generation that are accepting that because they don't know the dangers of communism. They weren't around to hear the dangers of socialism. And so they're looking at this as an alternative to these runaway inflation, the economic issues that we're in. And we need to start addressing those now. And I think, thank God, President Trump's starting to focus on domestic wins, because that's how we're going to carry the midterms. We have to. This is an all-out battle for the soul of our country, and we cannot lose it.
Yes. One quick final question to you about oil production. Mm-hmm. And I don't know oil production that way. I know you come from, your district is a massive oil producing district. Is that correct? Like one of the biggest in the world?
So West Texas oil infrastructure is critical, and a lot of my district does carry. We're just shy of Midland, but we have a lot of the Permian Basin. So like Loving County, areas around that is very, very much our district.
What do oil producers say right now? Like what's their insight into this? Do we actually need the Strait of Hormuz? What's going to happen in the future? What does the future of American oil production look like with Venezuela sort of in our craw? Could you architect this out for me? Because I just need us to get back to $2 gas. Like, obviously we had that. We had it. We literally have. I don't know how we snatched defeat out of the jaws of victory. $2 national average. We were cruising towards it in December. We were very close.
That's what people are going to vote on in November. Like those economic issues are going to be such big motivators for people to either go out to the polls or just to stay home. That's actually one of the things that I'm doing out here right now. I'm in West Texas. I'm in the Permian right now. And we're going to be talking with some of these oil producers and kind of get a lot of their take as to what's going on here. But the one thing that I've heard is that everybody just wants it to stabilize. We're glad to have an administration that's energy focused, that wants to unleash the power of American energy independence. But at the same time, we need these oil prices to stabilize if we're going to have a sustainable future.
Yeah, I would love to not have to ever. I want all those countries to sink into the ocean. I don't want to ever have to worry about it. I don't ever. It's like, dude, we've been doing content. It's like, okay, what's a Bandar Abbas? You know, what are these little Iranian cities? I don't care about these places. I don't ever want to go there. I'm so frustrated that that's been the directionality of the emphasis of what we're talking about. And you're exactly right. Like General Flynn was on earlier. He's like, just wrap it up. Just wrap it up. And like, let's just focus on domestic wins. And that needs to be, that precisely needs to be the drive through the midterms. I don't know, bro. Like, it's only a couple months, but through 2028, that has to be it. That has to be it.
Absolutely. And I hope this is the beginning of that. We're starting to see more and more things on the internal side. We're starting to see, like, for example, all this that's happening right now with Department of Justice, ATF, everything like that. I'm hoping that's signaling that the administration is focusing more on domestic issues, because at the end of the day, while foreign policy is important, you know, we want to make sure that we are a leader on a global scale. We do not want to make sure that we want to make sure that our enemies are not, you know, as powerful as they could be. We are definitely the leader globally. People vote on domestic issues, and if you're talking about what actually matters to the average American on a day-to-day basis, it's right here at home. That's the stuff we need to be winning on, and I really hope the administration is. This is good signaling from the administration on that.
Yes. JD, as ever, was like absolutely on point. Are you making someone's life better or not? And there's some pretty simple. Most people live pretty simple lives. I live a very simple life. I got 4 kids. It's all I do. I go to bed at 9 o'clock. Okay. I got a very simple life. I got a teeny little garage gym. I go to bed at 9 o'clock. I'm boring. I don't drink. I just like sit around. You know, it's like I'm with my kids. I'm with my kids. And it's like, there's just the cost of groceries and just the cost of gas. Yep. And thank God, you know, you buy a home during COVID and get that 2% rate. Right?
Yeah, because not everybody pays attention to the news, but everybody buys gas.
That's right. And everybody wants to live in a home someday, right? Like that is literally the American dream. On a clean street that's safe. And that's it. And that's the American dream defined. And church bells on Sunday, man. Thank you. I hope I'll be in Texas this weekend. I'll text you afterwards. Like, I would love to maybe get out to the district. I want to go see the new border wall. I don't know if they're building any of that double border wall in your district, but
a little bit no paso. I have seen some of that. Yeah, absolutely. But no, let me know when you're down in Texas. Let's definitely let's link something up, and let's maybe put a campaign event together or something. I'm on the road all the time. I'm doing an event every day. So we're pounding the pavement down here, brother. We've got Texas locked down. We just got to make sure we don't rest on our laurels.
That's exactly right. Yeah. Thank you, Brandon. Godspeed, man. Everybody follow Brandon right here. 700,000 subscribers. Come on. And then you can find, obviously, link to his YouTube and everything. You probably already follow that also as well. Godspeed, Brandon. We got you,
brother. Thank you.
See ya. Yo. How many times can we mention we're going to go to Texas? We're excited about this trip. There's like a lot of good energy that's happening. That's like funny how like Texas has been selected for destruction. Texas has been chosen as like the battleground. The left has always wanted Texas. They ravenously frothing at the mouth, like demanding like to get Texas. They want Texas so badly. And it is now ground zero for the war for our culture and civilization. And we'll see if people have been smart enough to defend Texas. It's always happened. Thank God Texas has that history. They have that instinct. The Alamo, defend Texas. We'll see. Very excited about what we're lining up there in the great Lone Star State. Here we go. Advantage Gold can protect you, can protect your future. Gas is up 47% from 10 years ago. And eating out costs 51% more. The increases add up over time. We've covered this on the show. Everything is about twice as expensive as it was 20 years ago. Gold, ladies and gentlemen, historically holds its value and your gains right when inflation is about to do the most damaging crash to your cash. So lock in with gold today. If you're 59 and a half or older, you don't want to be sitting in cash for your retirement account, you can move part of your 401k or IRA into gold, tax-deferred and penalty-free. Gold rose 65% in 2025. It's trading right now at attractive prices. Jump in today. Text Benny to 85545. Text Benny to 85545. Get your free gold investment kit and learn a simple IRS-approved way to move your 401k or IRA into physical gold, tax and penalty free. Text Benny to 85545 today. All right, ladies and gentlemen, exciting wins all across the country. I guess there's a lot we didn't get to, but we have a locked-in show tomorrow as well. Looks like we're going to have Ken Paxton and Greg Abbott potentially on the show. Deep in the heart of Texas, ladies and gentlemen. What else do we got? Let's do some good news at the end of the day. President Trump meeting with potentially his next White House press secretary. We got a video here of Donald Trump, and I don't know, guys. The script was enormous today, so you just grab it and toss it up. Here's Trump at his, there was a big report out saying who potentially could fill in for Caroline Leavitt. Caroline Leavitt's going to go be with her kids, and the names there were pretty exciting. Honestly, there's some Trump team names. Obviously, Stephen Chung is a longtime Trump communications guy. But there were also some, very exciting names like Spencer Pratt or Alina Habba, who I suppose would probably be my two favorites. Spencer Pratt's been meeting with Donald Trump semi-regularly. I think they've had 3 meetings now, one in the White House, one in L.A. But here's Alina Habba this weekend dining with President Trump. Now, little birdies tell me that while Trump was sitting here talking with his daughter, that Alina Habba was there for the majority of the conversation and joined the president, is an absolute flamethrower of a comms agent for Donald Trump, defending Donald Trump through a very tough period when Donald Trump was going through lawfare. She was out in front of those courthouses with those court cases, and we were constantly covering it. And Alina's a friend of the show. I texted her and I didn't get, let's just say it's not a no, right? I said, come on the show and tell everyone what's up. She said, can't do that. So, but it's not a no. So Alina Habba, ladies and gentlemen, could she be the next press secretary? I don't know. What do you think? We talked about this on Friday in the chat. A lot of people said yes. Run it back, Alina Habba. And she's defended the president, obviously, against the witches of the View, at the height of the lawfare. Now she's an attorney. I think she did an incredible job. Was the most effective communicator for Donald Trump during that lawfare season. And so I think she'd be amazing. You should call Patriot Alina Habba. You should use your Patriot mobile phone to make that call. Patriot Mobile is on a mission. Their mission is different from other cell phone providers. They offer premium priority nationwide service on all 3 major networks, helping you get the best possible coverage wherever life takes you. With Patriot Mobile, you can have 2 separate networks on a single device, eliminating the need to carry multiple phones and giving you peace of mind you can't get with other carriers. You need internet on the go. Patriot Mobile Wi-Fi hotspots connect with multiple networks to keep you connected while traveling or working remotely. They also offer international roaming and enterprise solutions for your business. They certainly do for ours. When you call Patriot Mobile, you'll support real people right here in America, the only Christian conservative wireless provider. Go to patriotmobile.com/Benny. Call 972-PATRIOT. Use the promo code Benny for a free month of service. patriotmobile.com/Benny. Here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, what does the market say for Trump's new press secretary? Who's it going to be? Oh, a mixed market here. It's a bit of a spaghetti noodle tangle. Margot Martin. Look at that, ALX. Margot Martin. She's a great member of Trump's team. She's always got the viral videos up of Trump. Got Scott Jennings. Anna Kelly, who's deputy press secretary right now. Kayleigh McEnany. And a couple of other people from the Trump press team. Tricia McLaughlin and Katie Pavlich. Oh, Kaylin's on there. Hey, look at that. But now you're down in the 1%. So it looks like the betting markets are saying Margot Martin, Scott Jennings, or maybe Kayleigh McEnany at 5%. Okay. She got the Fox contract. Break it to go back to the White House. I don't know. We had a lot of really fun names on Friday when we asked this question. Our verse of the day. Have I not commanded you, be strong and courageous. Do not be frightened and do not be dismayed. The Lord your God is with you wherever you go. Joshua 1:9. There's a lot of psyops out there. There's so many people that are trying to break our movement, that are trying to tear us down, that are trying to attack you. And, well, they don't matter. God is with us. Be strong and courageous. Do not be frightened. The Lord is with us wherever we go. Let us set about building that kingdom. March with us on to victory. It's your boy Benny. See ya.
Where the truth gon' be, faith and freedom on your TV screen. Stand up strong, battle through the night. The Benny Show's here, bringing liberty to light. From the speeches to debates, Benny sharp like a blade, cutting through the lies, watch the truth cascade. With the warrior's heart, this man never fades. You know it's prime time when Benny invades. From saving the nation to stories untold, the Benny Show's a storm, see the truth unfold. Stay in the loop, let freedom take hold. Salting all the libs, soul never sold. It's the Benny Show, where the truth gon' be, faith and freedom on your TV screen. Stand up strong, battle through the night. The Benny Show's here, bringing liberty to light. Liberty to light, bringing liberty to light. Liberty to light, bringing liberty to light. From the speeches to debates, Benny sharp like a blade, cutting through the lies, watch the truth cascade. With the warrior's heart, this man never fades. You know it's prime time when Benny invades. From saving the nation to stories untold, the Benny Show's a storm, see the truth unfold. Stay in the loop, let freedom take hold. Salting all the libs, soul never sold. It's the Benny Show, where the truth gon' be, faith and freedom on your TV screen. Stand up strong, battle through the night. The Benny Show's here, bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light.